Hi, everybody. It's crazy. It's Memorial Monday, and to all those veterans out there and all those people who are in active service, thank you for your service. And also to my wife, thank you for your service. Now, we're up to episode number 117, and last week we left off with designing your Python script. Now, this is going to be the study example. And we had left off with this file, which is, when you see me do last week, if you hit play and hold the space bar, it says abracadabra. Okay, and just showing you a little bit more of what coding is. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading on, and let's get started. All right, so we are now going to dive into an example of writing and planning a Python script for the game engine from scratch. We will assume that you have already covered all the basics of Python scripting and the general understanding of game engine internals, so we can move on to its real usage. More specifically, we are going over the writing process of a camera navigation system for an architectural visualization walkthrough. This study case is actually the system developed for a commercial project for an Italian book project. In general, we needed to implement a system to navigate and interact in a virtual model of an Italian Doric temple. Here, however, we are going to develop it under a sandbox and reapply it into another file, emulating what you could do with your own projects. Unlike gaming cameras, a virtual walkthrough can use a very simple navigation system compound of one, an orbit mode to look at the exterior of a building or of the building, two, a walk mode to navigate inside the building with gravity simulation and collision, three, and a fly mode to freely explore the virtual environment with collision only. The other requirement was to make the system as portable as possible and with the least amount of logic bricks. All of those aspects must be considered from the first phases of the coding process. With a well-defined design, you can plan the most efficient system in the short and long run. Pencil and paper. There you go. Try to say that 5 times fast. Pencil and paper. Valuable coding assets. One of the most remarkable moments during my coding studies was at Blender Conference 2008. I was still in my first steps of learning C++ and OpenGL coding, and I got the chance to explain a game engine bug to, I don't know the name, so if y'all know the name, you know who I'm talking about. A really experienced and acknowledged Blender coder and a very inspiring person. The bug itself was hard to explain through the internet. It's the one behind the implementation of canvas coordinates for 2D filters presented in Chapter 5. I was pleased enough to have his input on this, but even more impressive was seeing him code a particular solution right in front of me. At this point, I learned an important lesson. It doesn't matter how advanced and technical the coding is that you are working on. You can always have a great time sketching your ideas and plans with old-fashioned pencil and paper. This is how he solved the problem, clearly laying down the ideas and organizing them logically. I never forgot that. Thanks, Bretch. Okay, that was his name. I'm going to say Bretch or Brinch or Bretch. Bretch. Okay, B-R-E-C-T or B B-R-E-C-H-T. If you know how to pronounce that, let me know in the comments because I don't. All right, so the system will consist of one camera for the orbit mode and one to be used for both the fly and walk mode. Each mode works as described in table 7-1. All right, so I'm going to switch over to here real quick. Okay, so the vertical rotation is going to have a negative degree, 200 degree to 200 degree. Walk is going to be free, and fly is going to be free. Okay, the horizontal rotation on X is going to be a 10 degrees to 70 degrees. In the walk cycle, it's going to be a negative 15 to 45, and fly is going to be free. Moving pivot is not going to have one in orbit. It's going to have an empty, and it's going to have an empty. All right, horizontal rotation pivot is going to have an empty and camera, and a camera and fly. Vertical rotation pivot will be an empty, and an empty. Okay, empty is an empty object the camera is parented to. Okay, so that was what these meant. Okay, all right. Let's see, where are we at? Only at 5. Okay, good. We're doing good. All right, try it out. In order to illustrate it better, you can see the working system demonstrated in the book file, book chapter 7 for navigation system, camera navigation.blend. So what we're going to do is come over here and go to file, click on open. We're going to come back out of this one because this is 3. We're going to go into 4. Okay, navigation system. And then we're going to do, which one? Camera navigation, which is this one right here, .blend. Okay, so we're going to open this one up, and this is what we're looking at. Okay, so a lot of code, a lot of logic bricks, a lot of information. Okay, so don't fret too much about it. They want you to understand that it takes a lot to do it, so bear with it. It's okay. All right, so to switch modes, press 1, 2, or 3. This will change the mode to orbit, walk, and fly, respectively. To navigate, you can use the mouse and the keys WASD. Okay, so if we hit play right now, okay, as you see, that's 1. Okay, that's 2. And you hit WSA. Yeah, their camera thing is a little bit slow. Okay. And then 3 is fly mode, where you can just fly around. Oh. Okay, a lot going on here. Okay, and notice how slow it's going. I should actually kick on the thing because I'm pretty sure it's lagging like nobody's business. But that's the idea of it. So you can do 1, you can just do it from the camera point of view. Okay, 2, get walking view, and 3, you get flying view. Okay. All right, you know, you can play around with it. You can actually go into, let's see here. I think it's properties. No, no more properties there. Put it back to that one. Let's do this one. Let's go to properties. There we go. Okay. You can come down here to debug, wherever my debug is. This one's the 2.5 version, and they did a little bit differences in it. So trying to find everything in this one is a little bit tricky. So if you don't know, then it's best to just look around. Let's see. Because usually it's just right here and it shows it. Resync on. Don't have debug. Where is my debug properties? Okay. Well, anyhow, you should be able to find it. Just look in here, look in these, and I think it might be in world settings. Maybe. Nope. How about physics settings? No. It should be in this one, but it's not. For some odd reason, I don't know why it's not. Because usually debug properties are right here. Okay. So, anywho, somewhere in here, if you can find it, is basically the debug properties, and you can actually turn them on. Okay. So I'm gonna continue on. Okay. 3D world elements is in the camera.blend. This is 3D world elements. Okay. Open up the file. Okay, which one we are in, camera navigation. You will find 2 cameras and different empty objects in the first layer. Scripts and empty to call all the scripts. Okay, so you got the scripts. Camera move, camera orbit, camera back, camera front, camera side, camera top. These are empties to store the position and orientation for the game cameras. Move pivot, the pivot for the walk and fly camera, and orbit pivot for the pivot for the orbital camera. Okay. Now, in the second layer, you will find the collision meshes, the ground and the virtual elements. Everything is very simple here. Since we only need to test the system, and for that a few low poly obstacles work fine. Okay, so it's talking about all these right here. Okay, you want to have all these, and if you go to the second mode, let's see, is it that one? Yeah. Okay, and is it this one? Nope, single system. Okay, it shows a second layer, or says that there's a second layer, but there technically isn't. This is actually probably a newer version. Okay, so be aware of that, and in these, it tells you. Oh, let me turn this one back to the text editor where it was at. Okay, these tell you what they are doing, and this is example navigation file, the orbit, and WSD to move around, and the fly camera, and this right here is the code that they are using. Notice how long it is. Okay, it's pretty long. Okay, so what we'll do is next week we're going to go into all this. We're going to go into every bit of this code work here. Okay, so it's going to be called Understanding the Code. It's going to be on page number 28, the bottom of page 28. Next week. Let me switch on over to. There we go. All right, so next week we'll be doing Understanding the Code, page 28. Yep, okay, page 28. And we're going to go over what the program does, whatever what this will walk through does. Okay, so till next week.